Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm not sure what time you're going to be catching this video today, but this is John Terry with Vision Advisors, and welcome to Insight with Vision. I'm very excited to have with me today a gentleman I met just a few months ago. We've already become really good friends, and I'm excited to have a conversation with him today about you as a financial professional. And one of the things we talk about here at Vision quite often is how you build your credibility, how you build your expertise, how you have an opportunity to stand out as unique and different from everybody else that does the same things that you do. One of the questions I ask many of you when we have conversations and we're going through coaching calls together is, what makes you stand out? If a client is looking at you and they're saying, why should I pick you over any and other insurance agent that sells life insurance, annuities, long-term care, whatever it is that you serve, what's your answer to that question? Oftentimes, I find that you don't have a good answer. And as a result of that, you're just average. And average, we know, is mediocre, lackluster. And if you want to be in that top 5% status that sells more than the bottom 95% of all financial advisors combined, you've got to find some power tips and some power tools to help you do that. And one of the gentlemen I have with me today is my good friend, Michael DeLone. And Michael, I am so excited to have you with us today, and looking forward to having just some conversation about how we can help financial advisors stand out, be unique and different, and really become that authority figure and be seen as such in the marketplace. Can you take just a minute, Michael, and tell us who you are and what you do and what you uniquely do to serve your customers?
Yeah, I'd love to. John, thanks for having me here. It is going to be a vibrant conversation, because it's just fun to be with you. So Michael DeLon, I founded a company called Paperback Expert a number of years ago. I am a follower of Christ, been married 32 years to the same woman, got 4 kids, 2 adopted, 2 biological, and get to live my dream every day, John. But here's my story in short form, okay? My wife and I got married in 90, spent the first 5 years fighting because even though we both grew up in church, nobody taught us how to be married. Went to a family life marriage conference. That's where we learned God's blueprints for marriage. And I was working for Christian radio back then. And I realized after 2 years, nobody wanted to buy Christian radio. They wanted to sell their products and services. So I had to get really good at either selling or marketing. So I chose marketing, read the books, followed the gurus, did all that, learned how to do marketing for small business owners so my business would grow. In about 2000, God let us out of the radio station, went to a startup.com. That lasted 2 years because they were ahead of their time, which means they went bankrupt, and found myself without a job going, God, what am I going to do?
Sure.
And he said, Michael, I want you to ministry to families, and I want you at Family Life, that ministry that changed our marriage years ago. Mm-hmm. So we moved to Little Rock a couple years after that because we raised our support as missionaries, served at this ministry. I thought I was going to be there for life, climbed the corporate ladder, was on the leadership team. Then they started going through corporate reorganizations. After the third reorg, my name was no longer on the leadership team. And so the ministry started shuffling me around to do different things within the ministry. That's what began 2 years, John, of what I call my prison term, when I was in a job that I hated at a ministry that I loved. Well, after 2 years, I talked to my wife. I said, I got to get out of this place. Prayed. I said, God, what can I do? And he's like, what do you want to do? I said, I want to go help small business owners with marketing because they struggle with it. They hate it. I love it. He said, go. January 1st of 2013, I escaped from prison. I left the ministry, started a marketing consulting firm to help small business owners. I had one client. I helped him break through some walls and some barriers, grow his business. He'd refer me to you, John. I'd call you. I'd say, John, I think I can help you grow your business. You'd meet with me. We'd have a great conversation. You'd say, now, Michael, what have you done in the last few years? I say, well, I help build marriages and families at Family Life. And you say, that's so honorable. Way to go, Michael. Oh, look at the time. I've got another meeting. Let's keep our conversation going another time. And you'd usher me out the door. So I wasn't gaining clients, and I knew I had to fix that. So I went to my church one day, second floor. I was pacing the hallways, praying to God, saying, God, how do I help John? Because I know I can't. And he gave me the idea, John. He said, why don't you take all of your marketing strategies and put them in a book? And so I did. And so in 2013, I published my first book called On Marketing. Then I would call you and set a meeting with you. And I'd mail a copy of my book to you before we met. I walk into your office about a week later, and there it was. My book was on your desk, dog-eared, highlighted, underlined. You'd read my book. And in that meeting, John, you'd say, now, Michael, in your book, you said, how do you help me do that? And you'd hire me. And the next guy hired me, and the next guy hired me. Let me ask you, what changed between those two meetings that you and I had, John? Did my background in marketing and understanding marketing change at all?
No.
Nope. Did my background in ministry change?
No.
What changed, John, was how you thought of me.
That's right.
When you got a copy of my book, you instantly saw me as an expert, and I elevated in your mind, and you listened to what I said, and you hired me.
Mhm.
That was the seed, John, that got planted that today is become Paperback Expert, where we help financial advisors create their own book without writing a word, to position them as the expert in the mind of their audience so that they will get chosen over all of the other competitors because of their expertise and their credibility. That's what we get to do all day, every day.
And that's so exciting, Michael, in terms of what you do. And I've experienced that in my own life. Before you and I met, I've had an opportunity to write. Now I've got 7 books in print. I've got 2 more coming. But this particular book right here that I wrote in 2020 made me the #1 expert in the martial arts community across the United States. Why? Because school owners, instructors got a copy of this book. I was privileged to give out 250 of these at the United States Martial Arts Hall of Fame just a few years ago.
Wow.
To instructors and school owners that had an opportunity to go through and read the 10 essential character qualities that you got to live out to be a black belt leader. As a result of that, I get calls every day from people saying, how is it you can help me in my school do something different? Now, that's my passion project I do outside of the work I do here at Vision, and love serving the martial arts community. And it's been a phenomenal thing to do. But in terms of credibility, it's amazing. My daughter, who's 22 years of age, has now written 8 children's books, one of those being coloring and activity books that she's done for children to get them off their smartphones and get them using their creativity to learn how to develop their imagination and learn to lead themselves well.
That's awesome.
She's just developed a leadership curriculum. But as a result of that, at 22 years of age, she's got Kiwanis, Rotary, all these different groups calling her saying, can you come speak to me? And they're saying, can you teach me how to teach my kids to write their first book? 22
That's
years of age.
amazing.
Why? She's become an authority figure and an expert because of a book.
That's right.
Now, Michael, one of the things you mentioned, and they may have missed it on the front end, you said writing their book without writing a word.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah, that's the secret, because everybody wants to be an author, but nobody wants to write a book because writing's so tedious. So what we do is we have a staff of writers, John, and we match our client with one of our writers, and our writer actually interviews you, usually through Zoom, and we talk with you because our conviction is that our clients are experts at what they do. You can talk about financial services and financial planning all day long. So you've got the information in your head. Our job is to get it out through questions to build a coherent outline for your book that captures all of the things that your audience needs to understand. And then we ask you questions, and you just speak to write your book. So you're speaking to your writer. We record everything. Then the writer transcribes that, and that's the foundational material the writer then uses to actually write your book. But it's in your words, your tone, your expertise. We do everything in the book publishing process except bring the content, because you're the expert, we're not. But we're going to draw the content out from you through a speak to write process so much faster. And the underlying aspect of that a lot of people miss, John, is when you're talking with a client or when you're doing a webinar or a seminar, you're speaking. If you sit down and start typing, you're using a different part of your brain and you're not going to sound the same. But when you speak to write your book, you're going to use the same phrases that they're going to hear on your videos, on your podcasts, in your seminars when they speak to you in person. And that underlying credibility goes off, and they're like, this is the same guy. He said the same thing in the book. They may not verbalize that, but it's definitely internal. So we use a speak to write process where we guide you through the entire process. We've clocked it. If you stay on our process, it takes less than 24 clock hours of your time to create your book. It takes hundreds of our time over a few months, but it's very fast because we work with busy business owners.
Yeah, and I love that concept because, not everybody has the ability to sit down and take what's in their head and put it on a piece of paper. I remember when I wrote my first book, I shared my story with you, how I spent a summer with Malcolm McGregor, who was the Christian CPA from the 700 Club. He and my pastor were very good friends. And I got to be essentially his liaison and his attaché and his bodyguard for the time he was with us.
Yeah.
And spending time with him as he was leaving Little Rock, Arkansas, when I took him back to the airport, he turned and he said, "John, you've got a gift. What are you going to do with it?" I said, "I don't have a clue. 23 years old." And he smiled and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "John, write a book." I did, and it'll change the world.
Yeah.
3 days I tossed and turned, Michael, because I couldn't get that out of my head. And finally I said, okay. And I went and bought a computer. I didn't know how to operate. I tried to write a book. I didn't know how to write. And that book ended up being picked up by a Bible college and a seminary and has gone global and is now in its 4th edition printing. And so in the faith-based community, when it comes to money and stewardship and those principles, people know who I am. Why? Because of a book that I didn't know how to write. Had I had a process like this back then, I could have just essentially, what I like to say, throw up my knowledge and give it to someone that could have done that and made the process easier for me than having to go through this book and then go back and painfully pick that book up years later and look at that 1st edition book and thinking, oh, dear God, thank you that you, you took care of me anyway, because it was, that 1st edition book was horrible. I go back and I look at the grammatical errors and some of the spelling, and but people loved it. They read it because why? It was coming from my heart.
Right.
And what I love about what you do is doing that interview. And I know, Dr. John Maxwell does that. Wayne Nance, the founder of Real Life Management, did that with his book. Several people I know have used that process.
Right.
And they found, and what I love about it is it allows you to speak in your language through a book without you having to do all the tedious editing and writing that just takes so much time.
That's right. Yeah. And most of my clients are not good. They're not schooled in that literary aspect, right? You know what you want to say. You're a great communicator. Our writers just put it into a book form so it makes sense.
Absolutely.
And man, you talk about a way to pre-educate prospects before you meet with them, or give your book to a prospect after you've met with them to reiterate what you just met with them for an hour. They're leaving like you just shot them with a fire hose. They're probably more confused now than they've ever been.
That's right.
Take my book with you. It's going to reiterate all the principles we've talked about. And when we meet next week, we'll clarify the specific questions you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That just builds such confidence.
One of the things that we teach here, Michael, is conceptual selling, essentially story selling.
Yes.
That you get someone, number one, you want to identify what the problem is they want to solve.
Yeah.
Once you know the problem they want to solve, you then take them on a journey of how you can utilize your unique expertise to solve their problem.
Yeah.
And then the financial instruments, the life insurance, annuities, long-term care, health insurance, whatever it may be, those become the tools that you use once they've agreed that this concept is what I want. This is the outcome I desire. And one of the unique things about a book is it can pre-sell the concept. It can pre-sell the outcome. It can ask the question, is this what you want? And as a result of that, when you meet with them and they've already had a copy to read through your book, they've already had an opportunity to get to know who you are, what you do, how you uniquely do it, and most importantly, how it benefits the consumer to help them achieve a goal or objective or overcome a challenge in their lives.
Yeah, it really does. It's like having a conversation with a prospect over 2 or 3 or 4 hours, because they're sitting with you in their book. When we read a book, usually it's one-on-one. It's me and you.
Yep.
And it does just what you say, so that when they come to that meeting, many of our clients say that, their prospects walk into the meeting with their book with, stick Post-it notes on different pages because they've had specific questions about something you've written.
Yeah.
That's ideal.
Yeah.
Because those are buying signals, right?
Yeah.
But they also hear your stories. One of the big things we love to do is tell the story of our client of why, John, do you do what you do? There's a reason. You have a path that's brought you to doing this, because you could be doing a dozen other things.
Right.
Tell me that story. And many times that story is what we'll use to kind of position the advisor uniquely, because it's something that their competitors can't fight against. And it's something that they can tell, and it resonates with their audience. because everybody's had struggles. Everybody's been back and forth. And a lot of times with financial advisors, they've had something in their past, either themselves or a relative who got sold a bad deal somewhere, lost money somehow. And they are kind of vowing to never allow that to happen again.
That's right.
And we want to bring that forward to say, this is who I am. This is why I do what I do. Here's how I do it. Here's some people we've helped. And it, the financial industry world is complex for those of us who are outside of it. And if you can find a way to bond with people, get them to like you, and simplify at some level, and a lot of that, it comes through story. I love storytelling because that, I mean, think of all the movies in Hollywood and everything. They're story based. That's how we think. So that's what we do, is help the advisors understand that. And we don't ask them to come up with all of this. It just flows naturally as we interact with them through our process. It's really cool.
Many of the financial advisors we work with, Michael, have been very effective as seminar speakers. And they have a story that they tell in front of an audience. And so as I think about what you do, I thought back when I first met you, I thought back to a financial advisor I know down in Southern Texas, that for years he would do a seminar, but he would bring in a book of another individual that wrote a book on financial principles that he taught. And he would give that book away to everybody that came to his seminar. And even though it wasn't his book, when he would go visit with somebody, they would say, I want to do what's in chapter 7. Can you help me do that? And then all of a sudden, as he and I were talking, he had this realization, well, why am I using this other guy's book and building him up? Why don't I write my own book? And he worked through the process, and I eventually hired somebody way before I met you to do this. And I thought about that as we were getting ready to do this interview. And I thought, when he made that shift from promoting somebody else's book, even though they were teaching something similar, and he created his own book, what he saw in his practice, where he was already being very effective, he saw about a 30 to 40% increase in his business as a direct result of people coming to the seminar. They got the book. People that he was meeting with and interacting with, that book became his business card. And, you know, he's spending $3 a book, $4 a book at his cost to be able to give that out. You give out 100 books to a qualified prospect for $300, and your average compensation on meeting with that client's going to be, you know, $11,000.
Right.
That's a pretty good ROI to have an opportunity to say, hey, not only am I good at what I do, I'm the expert that wrote the book on this particular subject. Now you stand out.
Now you stand out. And then let's take it to that next level, because we teach, you know, we're a marketing company as well. So we've got marketing systems that we give to our clients. Okay. And one of the systems is referrals. Because everybody wants referrals. So here's our system. When you have your book and you've just laid out the plan, they've signed the documents, they're thrilled because now they've got a plan that they love. They're going to be able to achieve their dreams, right? Here's the script. John, thank you so much for allowing me to serve you. I'm really excited about what we've put together for you. Would you do me a favor? And they'll always say yes, because they're super excited, right?
That's right.
And you say, John, you probably don't know this, but most of our clients don't come to us through all the marketing and advertising that we do. They come to us through the referrals of our happy clients like you. It would mean a lot to me, John. Would you do me a favor and just take 3 or 4 copies of my book with you? And as you're talking with your friends in the next 3 weeks about finances, about how we've helped you set up your retirement, would you just hand a copy of my book to one of your friends and say, well, this is the guy that we trust. He just wrote this book and you should read it. Would you do that for me, John? And they always nod and say, yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah.
So a lot easier script to do that. You're putting your hands into the hands of your best clients whom you want to clone. And how much easier and really more fun is it for them in a conversation to go, oh, hey, my guy just sent me, my guy wrote the book on it. You should read, versus, well, here's the business card of the guy that right? It just doesn't, it's not the same feel.
That's right. Yeah.
So your clients actually enjoy giving the book out because they're proud to be represented by somebody who's an expert and who has credibility. And so it's a great way to stimulate referrals and multiply your ideal clients, because they run in circles of people just like them.
That's right. Yeah. So that's one of the things that we teach, is that every client that you have has an inner circle of about 8 to 10 people that have the very same wants and needs and goals and objectives, because birds of a feather flock together.
That they do.
But financial advisors skip that part way too often. They're more concerned about where do I find my next new client, which cost them 8 to 10 times more money than working with their existing customers to either identify other needs they have or get those introductions.
Yeah, that's right.
And the power of a book in making those introductions is huge.
It really is. We've got a financial advisor, a client of ours up in Branson, Missouri. He wrote his first book in 2014, wrote another one with us last year. And he experiences, he mails copies of his books out, just like you said, to prospects. They walk in his office, book in hand, they sit down, they sign the documents. And many times, John, they will ask him, hey, could we get a few more copies of that book? Because we've got some friends or work associate or family. We'd like to give it to them. And his response is, yeah, do you want 5 or 10 copies? He's learned.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of his business comes from, is his clients asking for copies of his book.
That's right.
Because it's succinct, it tells his story, and they bond with him. It is honestly, I mean, I've been in marketing for a long time. A book is one of the most versatile marketing tools I've ever seen. And I mean, I've done a lot of marketing for a lot of people. Books have shelf life. They stay around for a long time. You know, I wrote mine in 2013. I still use it today. And the other thing I love is it's sacrilegious in our culture to throw a book away.
Yeah,
so once you put that in somebody's hand, all of those martial arts people who have your book, they're going to have your book for years. It's a resource to them.
Yeah.
That's the power of that book. And now in your marketing, you always have something to go back to.
That's right.
You always have a speech to give.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, the interesting thing just about my book that I wrote for the martial arts community, corporate America found it. And as a result of the school owners having it in their school and sharing it with their students, well, who's sitting in the audience? Moms and dads. What do moms and dad own? Businesses. And while they may not ever want to get on the floor and punch and kick, everybody wants to be a black belt master at something. And when you can learn to master your leadership, all of a sudden, you know, individuals are saying, and you know, how can you help me grow my business? How can you help me do this or that? It's an amazing tool. But I think back to my book, you know, that first book I wrote in 97, that book is still in print. It's now in its 4th edition. Here we are in 2022 with a book I wrote in 1997 that still has shelf life. And I still have people that read that book 20 years ago that when I run into them as I'm traveling, they're like, I read your book 20 years ago and it changed my life. How do I get a copy of that book? Well, stupid me, I left it with the seminary and the Bible college that had it for years. And finally, the dumb light went off and said, hey, knucklehead, you know, get your book on Amazon so people can buy it. So the last edition went out on Amazon and people are saying, oh, there's your book. Hello.
Where's it been all my life?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. And what you just described there, the way we phrase it is a book reverses the polarity of your marketing.
That's right.
So instead of going out to chase clients, you've got clients calling you, pursuing you.
That's right.
How much better is that? Because they're ready to talk with you. They see you as the expert. Now your sales call really isn't. It's more of a good fit conversation.
That's right.
Your closing ratio goes up, so you're making more money. They're happier to refer you to people, so you're going to get better referrals, so you're going to make more money. And it is a great lead generation piece on the front end, giving people an opportunity to get a free copy of my book on my website to get them on your list so you can nurture. There's just so many uses for a book. And we've just talked about 3 or 4 or 5 of them. We've got dozens of ways to use your book in your marketing to grow your business, because that's really what we do. Yes, we're a book publisher, but we understand marketing. We understand business growth. That's what we're trying to do, because if you're trying to sell your book and get rich by selling it on Amazon, that's the wrong motivation for a business owner.
That's right.
You're on Amazon and Kindle for the credibility, for the access.
Yeah.
And just like you'll have a lot of people buying it there, and then they'll call you and say, hey, I read your book. I got a copy of your book. I read your book. I like what you said. I'd like to sit down and talk with you.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow. Where'd that come from?
Yep.
Well, it's because they could find you.
Yep. Well, the other thing we talked about too, Michael, in going back to what you were talking about earlier with this advisor up in Branson, that people are coming in, he's engaging the law of reciprocity. Yes. You know, when you do something nice for someone, as in giving them a copy of a book, they want to do something nice in return, and they want to reciprocate that favor by saying, this book changed my life. And I love what's in this. how can I share this information with somebody else? They become your unpaid sales force in your business because of the power. And matter of fact, it's an article I just wrote today and published out on my LinkedIn page, is the power of reciprocity, talking about that very thing, that you create your desired outcome by going first.
That's right.
And serving first, giving first. And the ability to give that book, you're giving your knowledge, your wisdom, and your expertise, and it tees up that reciprocal response of, how can I help you share that message with others?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of times you might give out 300 books, right? Well, what if only 30 of those people became clients? Well, that's okay. There's still 270 books out there that are being referred to right. And not everybody's in the market today. And that's the other challenge I see, especially in financial advisors, is if you're not ready to buy today, you're done. And I'm going after the next shot. No. It takes time. And they might get your book and they might not be able to engage with you for a year. That's okay.
Yeah.
Because who's top of mind?
That's right.
Has the book. And it really changes everything.
Yeah. And we talk about that in our attractional advisor model that I teach our advisors. Is statistically only 1 to 3% of consumers are ready to buy a financial product today.
Yep.
But there's another 40 to 45% of people that are at some point in the process of being willing to buy from you in the next week, month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, year down the road.
Yeah.
How do you stay visible? How do you stay top of mind? A book is a powerful way, because when they get ready to finally make that decision, it's like, Michael wrote that book a while back. I need to go find that book and look at that again and make sure I know what he said I needed to do before I make that decision. And guess what? If your contact information is in the back of your book, who are they going to call?
That's right.
Ghostbusters, right? Yeah,
that's right.
They're going to call you.
Well, it is. And showing up in different ways. Let me. So we teach our clients, when you mail a book to somebody, there are lots of ways to mail it. But what's the difference, John, between Six Flags and Walt Disney World? They're both amusement parks, but Disney charges about 5 times more. It's because they've created experiences.
That's right.
And memories.
Yeah.
So we teach our clients to, number one, sign your book, because they'll never throw that away, right? And buy these bubble wrap mailers like on Amazon in your colors, and put your book in there and mail it out to them. So it's an experience. They open it up and there should be a note inside to them, maybe another thank you, right? Make it an experience for them that they'll never forget. And if you do it this way, I can call you and say, John, I'm going to mail my copy of my book out to you. It's going to come in a big gold envelope. So when you see the gold envelope in your mailbox, you'll know it's my book. Okay. I'll call you in a couple of days, make sure it gets there. So you mailed your book. 2 or 3 days later, now I have a reason to call you back. John, Absolutely. Did that big gold envelope arrive in the mail, or did the mailman lose it? Because I want to make sure you get that book, because there's great information. No, I actually got it yesterday. Awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback. I'll call you in a few more days after you have a chance to read it. Couple, 3 more days, right? Hey, John, did you have a chance to read the book? I'm giving myself reasons to contact you. I'm not trying to sell you.
Yeah. It's all about creating that conversation. Yeah.
It totally is.
Yeah.
I've had multiple touches with them. They feel good about me because I'm not trying to sell them into an appointment. Eventually I will, but I want it to be when they're ready.
That's right. And it gets us to the point that we know statistically you got to have 5 to 8 touches before 80% of the populace is going to know you, like you, and trust you well enough to buy from you. What are you doing? You're getting those touches and building that credibility and that likability factor, plus the confidence and authority in the book. You're setting the stage up for more success.
Absolutely. And so that's one aspect we tell our advisors in emails that you would send, or even in a podcast you do, or whatever, referring back to your book. And you've done it 2 or 3 times, say, in my book I wrote, or in chapter 4 of my book, we were talking about the importance of protecting your family when you're not here. Right. Let me talk about, but just those phrases in my book, when I wrote my book, it just reinforces that you're an author, you're a credible expert, because, in our culture, experts have books.
That's right.
They do. You're an expert at what you do, but are you perceived as an expert? Do you have your own book? Because it does make a world of difference. And it's cool because in marketing, there are lots of things we can spend our money on. Facebook ads, podcasts, whatever. Most of them, you keep spending money month after month after month after month. If you do seminars, you're always spending. A book, you make an investment one time, and it pays you back year after year after year after year because you own it. Your book.
That's right.
I mean,
It's your book. Yeah,
it's amazing to me.
absolutely. Yeah.
The return compounds year after year after year when you use it.
Yeah.
And it really simplifies your message. You always go back to your book because it encompasses all that you do. And so it's really simple to do marketing, communicate a clear message, and get people to trust you and have confidence that you are the one I should choose, because you're in a competitive market. I mean, there are a lot of financial advisors out there. How are you going to separate yourself? This is just a great way to do it.
Absolutely. So, Michael, as advisors have gotten interested, and I know they have from having an opportunity to hear this, how do they connect with you?
Paperbackexpert.com is our website. From there, that's kind of the hub for all things Michael. You can find our programs that we have. You can look at our coaching. We've got a lot of free resources. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Everything's there at paperbackexpert.com.
Awesome. Well, we will add that to the show notes at the bottom of this when we get together and put it together. Michael, as we get ready to wrap up, if there's one thing that you could share with the financial advisors watching this today that would inspire them or encourage them to say, I need to do this and I need to do it now, what would that be?
It would be to be yourself. For somebody to choose you over everybody else, they need to connect with you and bond with you. That's going to come through your story. So be yourself, tell your story quickly and easily. We love to do it through your book, and then position yourself as the expert in their mind. But don't try to be like everybody else. Be who God made you to be. Tell your story, and that's going to attract the right type of clients to you. Do that, and you're going to be a lot more successful.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you so much. Paperbackexpert.com, expert with a T, no S, paperbackexpert.com. That's how you get a hold of Michael. Michael, I want to say thank you. This has been just an enjoy. We could have gone on for a long time.
We really could have, yeah.
It's a subject you and I are both passionate about. I appreciate what you do, my friend. Thank you for taking the opportunity to share with our advisors. And I'm going to encourage our advisors to reach out to you. And if you want to drop a note in there, just say, hey, John referred me. It's not going to necessarily get you a discount, but it'll let Michael know that I'm at least doing my part to make the connection so he knows where it came from. And I promise you, he's going to take very good care of you and help you take very good care of your clients.
Thank you.
I'm John Terry with Vision Advisors. Thanks for joining me, and have a great day.